Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's 1 o'clock, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Michael, and Laura and I, we are on the OER steering committee, and we're happy to bring to you guys today OERs at Prince George's Community College, an organizational perspective.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
And Laura, I think we can, yep. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what are open educational resources, a little bit about the what and the why. We're also going to talk about some of our internal and external partnerships that we've had within the college and outside of the college. And we're going to look at some of the impact that open educational resources has had on our students. And finally, we're going to talk about next steps. Before we get started though, we want to launch a poll and kind of get some feedback from you guys about where you think we are with OERs. So we got some fun questions we wanted to share with you. If you could just take a minute and read through that. The poll has been launched. So I got a question in the poll, was a great question. So while you're filling out the poll, I just want to make a distinction between open educational resources and Z courses. So I'm gonna move a little ahead in the program, but I think it can just help in terms of answering some of the questions I'm receiving. When you think about open educational resources, those are resources that are completely free, that they're openly licensed, so you can use the content, you can use the information, whether it's text, whether it's video, whether it's chapters. And when we think about open, it means you have the ability to be able to use it, distribute it, and modify it. At the institution, we also track what we call Z courses. And Z courses are zero cost instructional material for students. So for example, in one of our technology courses, the organization has a relationship with Cisco. So we pay maybe $500 a year to be a Cisco Academy, and all the students receive all of their instructional materials for free. So even though those materials are not openly licensed, they're still free or zero cost instructional materials for students. So when we talk about Z courses, what we're tracking here at the college is actually Z courses, and that's zero cost for students. So it looks like we got, the majority of people filling out the poll. The first question says, How many students have benefited from Z sections in the FY 2020? And the correct answer for that one is between 5,001 and 10,000. For question number 2, which of these courses had Z sections in the spring 2020? It was Math 1350. For question number 3, which is the department with the biggest number of Z sections? That is Technology, Engineering, and Construction. Question number 4, English 0090 had both Z sections and regular sections in fall of 19. Which of the following is true? Course success rates were higher in Z sections compared to regular sections. Okay. And which degree can be completed entirely by taking courses with Z sections at Prince George's Community College? And we got that one right, general studies. So just wanted to provide some questions for us to think about in terms of where we are and to see if in your mind we were pretty close. And go ahead and move on to the next slide, please, Laura.
Yep, sorry.
That's okay. So I wanted to we wanted to share with you a video that just kind of represents some of the work that college has been doing regarding open educational resources. It kind of shows the work of some of our earlier work with establishing learning communities, partnering with the library and professional development. So we're going to go ahead and share that video really quickly. It's about a 1-minute video. Laura, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Yeah.
And while Laura's setting that up, what I would tell you is the next thing we wanted to talk about is the reasons why that, students really benefit from having these open educational resources. In terms of a study, you can go to the next one, please. When we think about why are open educational resources important, probably the most obvious thing is the cost, that it saves students a significant amount of money. For our institution, sometimes it allows students to take additional classes as a result of not having to do that. Another reason is equity. We really understand that some students on day one, when they don't have access to textbooks and they don't have access to the instructional material, it puts them at a disadvantage, not because they're not capable of doing the work, but it puts them at a disadvantage because they don't have the access. So then we have things like income and other factors that could determine whether or not students are successful. So the ability to know that all students are able to access their instructional materials on day one absolutely impacts the success of our students. Another reason why we are moving towards OERs is improved pedagogy. We realize that instructional materials and textbooks never have everything exactly the way that we want it. But with the ability to remix content and open educational resources, the ability to pull a chapter from here, to pull resources from there, to modify that content and to have it exactly how we want it, we actually are moving from the point of trying to parallel textbooks, but to actually improve upon existing material that's out there already. from a faculty point of view, there is compensation available, and this type of work applies to promotion and tenure as well. Next slide, please. So students will tell us that 65% of them don't buy a textbook due to cost. About 48% of the textbook cost is affected by a number of courses, and 82% of students said that they would do better with a free textbook. So later on, Laura's going to talk about some of the impact that that's had at our institution directly. Next slide, please. So we've had a lot of partnerships in terms of being able to make this happen. The first partnership, what was really important to us, was the one that we had with the administration at Prince George's Community College. In terms of us creating this platform for delivering open educational resources, one of the things that was important to faculty was to have a bottom-up approach that was supported by administration. So faculty and staff, we were able to come together and put together a platform for a lot of recommendations, and the administration was able to support and help and guide us through this. And I think that that was one of the things that made this at least most exciting for me. Another key partner was the bookstore. Rather than feeling like this is a competition, the bookstore has been very supportive in terms of how we can partner together in different ways. Marketing and communication has been putting things on the website and the OWL briefs and creating promotional materials to support this. Enterprise technology has helped to make our Z courses searchable for students. The faculty on the credit and the workforce side have been involved in creating learning communities and developing these open educational resources. The library has been an instrumental support in terms of providing guidance for faculty and being able to create and develop open educational resources. We've had providers like LibreText and OER Commons and MOST provide support to us from the external side. Professional development has been important to us in providing training and resources. The research area has provided some amazing statistics that's going to be shared later on to talk about our impact. The steering committee has provided leadership along the way. Student affairs has been really helpful in getting the word out to students about open educational resources, and the advisors have been key to making students aware of this as well. And lastly, the students have provided important feedback for us. They've been served on our steering committee, and they've been an integral part of this process as well. Next slide, please. Laura?
Hi, yes. So we, as part of the steering committee, with a subgroup within the steering committee, designed an evaluation plan for the OER initiative, and that involves several components. First, looking at the number of sections, the number of students who benefited, and how much money they saved. We also propose to conduct a quantitative analysis comparing course success rates in Z sections and regular sections. And finally, an effort to gather student and faculty perceptions through surveys. So today we will present some components of the evaluation plan. We haven't yet gotten into the survey components. So this graphic has been put together by communications and marketing, and it is, I believe, available on the website. And it tells you that in fiscal year 2020, there were a total of 526 course sections that were delivered as Z sections, and that benefited 7,830 students. That's the number of unduplicated students. So that's a big proportion of our credit student population. And the savings resulted in over $1 million in textbook books. If you ask how we calculated the textbook costs, They were calculated by adding the number of students in all Z sections. In this case, would be a duplicate number, because if a student is taking more than one course, they're saving money for all of their courses, not just the one course. So multiplying the number in all Z, the duplicated number of students in all Z sections by $80. And $80 is an estimated cost saving for each student per course taking that was provided by Achieving the Dream. So that's the calculation we have thus far. Here you can see that the effort for implementing OERs and Z sections in particular has had a focus on general education and high enrollment courses, but the idea is that programmatic courses should be and will be and are being incorporated in this initiative as well. One key point, as you've seen from the poll at the beginning of the presentation, is that right now the general studies degree can be completed entirely in these sections. And as this program gets revisited and revamped, there is an institutional effort to do that at the moment. We will be keeping the focus to ensure that it continues to be the case that students are able to complete it through by taking Z courses. This slide provides you a breakdown on how we are in terms of each division and each department, offering students Z courses and sections. And of course, the objective would be to see that list continuing to expand. So one of the major questions by members among members of the steering committee, and of course among faculty, and was to what extent students are performing at least equally as well in these sections as in regular sections, where with traditional commercially available materials. So we decided to conduct a quantitative analysis comparing within courses that had both types of sections to see how students were doing side by side. And so we used two metrics. On the one hand, we compared the success rates, and that would be the percentage of A's, B's, and C's over total grades, and we include withdrawal grades on the denominator, because the withdrawal grade can be taken as an indicator of not being successful in the course. The other metric being an average grade that is calculated the same way you would calculate a GPA. So with the A being worth 4 points, B 3 points, and so forth. And in the average grade, the withdrawal grades, the W grades, are not included in the calculation. In this slide, you see the comparative analysis for English 0080 for fall 2019. And as you can see, the course success rates for these sections is much higher than the success rate for regular sections. And that is a very significant difference. And the average grade is also higher for C sections. So that you have an idea, we had 51 students in regular sections and 186 students in the Z sections. So in this slide, you see another example of a different course, English 0090, also from fall 2019. And again, we see that the success rates for this section are much higher than the success rates for regular sections. And the average grades are very close to each other between the two types of sections. Again, to have an idea of how many students we are talking about, there were 144 students in the regular sections and 310 students in the Z sections. And finally, in a completely different course in Math 1350, same semester, again, when we look at success rates, we see that the success rates are higher for these sections, 7 percentage points difference compared to the regular sections, and the average grade is also higher in these sections. And here we had 310 students in these sections and 144 students in the regular sections. So when you add all those students up, just for these preliminary and still limited quantitative analysis, we are talking about a fairly decent sample. We are talking about 1,200 students. So even if we looked only at 3 courses, these are really promising results. And again, it's a substantive amount of our student population. So I'm gonna now turn it to Michael, who will talk about next steps, and I will follow him afterwards to take next steps in terms of the evaluation plan.
Thank you, Laura. So the statistics that you've shown us have really been promising, like you said. And in terms of some of our next steps, one thing that we recently have done is we've had an institutional standard set for our OER courses and repositories. So we have a standard now for how all of those courses are going to be developed and how they're going to be managed. Another next step for us is to make sure that we pay particular attention to WDCE faculty as well as adjunct faculty. So over the past month, we did about 3 trainings and workshops, but we want this to be across all of TLSS. And this is not just something for full-time faculty, not something just for credit, but something for adjuncts as well. We have an opportunity as an institution to not only use from the repositories that exist, but for us to also be creators of content as well, which is very exciting. A next step for us regarding enterprise technology is that we've made a lot of gains with enterprise technology. One area where we're still having a little bit of difficulty is being able to make sure that when students are signing up for a course, that they can actually see the Z designation within the course. So we hope maybe over the next few months, we'll be able to bring that to the table again, to be able to get some support to make that happen. We're also working very closely with the library as they continue to provide support to faculty to make sure that we have the appropriate Start Here resources and vetting resources and everything else that's needed for faculty. So that's part of our plan as well. And I'm going to hand it back to Laura for the evaluation.
Yes, thank you, Michael. So with regards to the evaluation, again, the data we've shown is very promising, but it is still preliminary. We want to see how things turn out in further semesters. We would like to replicate the analysis with fall 2020 grades. We think that given given what transpired in the spring semester, that is it's a very odd semester in the great scheme of things. So we may leave that out. But in fall, we are definitely interested in running the comparison again. We will also like to gather input from students and from faculty for a more qualitative analysis in terms of what gains come up with the implementation of OERs and C sections in particular, and also what challenges they may be experiencing.
So before we move to the question and answer period, Laura and I just want to say, because we wholeheartedly believe in open educational resources, and we know that, that faculty believe in this, and we know that staff believe in this. Advisors are advocating for people all the time. And let me put you in this Z course. Faculty members are putting so much time, energy, and effort, marketing, communication. The whole college really believes in this. And what's the philosophy that we were going into this with is, let's try this OER thing out to see how it works. Now, granted, it's not perfect in every discipline, but the question that we really need to start asking ourselves in the future, if we're concerned about student success, is why are we not exploring these options? So we need to kind of flip this around and assume that we're going to look at this as a possible standard to start with, as opposed to an option later on, because the benefit from the data really show that this is impacting our students' lives. And I think, Laura, I think we're ready for any questions and answers, maybe?
Yes, of course.
The purpose of this presentation was for us to provide information to anyone in the college community, because everyone has been supporting this in their own way, directly and indirectly. So no matter how big, how small the question is, this is just a workshop to provide general awareness. So if anyone has any questions, doesn't matter, please feel free. Oh, okay, we have a question in the chat box. It says, hi all, is there a difference in how often the OER resources need to be updated versus traditional materials? That's an excellent question. A lot of times it depends on the discipline. Some of the disciplines, the materials don't change as much. In our discipline, the material changes probably every couple years because of certification exams. So the same way that you think about looking at textbooks and how textbooks need to change in your discipline, I think it's safe to look at OERs that way as well. Some of the materials that we use for OERs actually is automatically updated, and sometimes it's going to require a manual revision. It just depends on the source. Do you want us to type? Oh, I think unmute would probably be a lot easier, Dr. Williams. Thank you for. And Dr. Williams.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Michael. I started jumping in where everybody else was. I went to the chat. So my question is there, which was in the evaluative version of it. So first of all, let me thank you all so much. This has been enlightening to me because I've been wondering what the difference was between a Z course and OER. So I just learned something and I'm truly grateful. Do you plan to look at successive courses as a part of your model for effectiveness in either of these, either the Z course and or an OER course?
Laura, I'll let you.
Yes, actually we had not planned, but Dr. Williams, I think that that is a very good suggestion. In terms of the analysis, we focused on Z courses because it was Z sections was what we could identify in the system. We don't know by looking at the data whether a course is actually OER or simply a Z course, but we can tell whether it's a Z course. So that's why it's all based, all the quantitative analysis is based on the Z course designation as opposed to more broadly OERs. But looking at successive course success is a very relevant data point, and particularly as more courses turn to be completely OER and we no longer have, or completely Z sections, and we no longer have the comparative base. I think that shifting to that approach can continue to inform our practice.
The next question was, how are students notified of how to access their no-cost materials? So that happens a couple ways. One is when they register, if they do a search for Z courses, then they automatically know that they're having Z course instructional material. Then once they log into Blackboard, then access to their Z course material should be available. If they don't search for a Z course and they happen to pop into one, then when they go to the bookstore, then they will see that for the particular section, there is a Z course, but that's directly related to one of the priorities or challenges we want to address is having that Z designation when students search early on. Another question was, when will...
Right. I was gonna prime him on that one even, Michael. For Deneen, I actually am under Michael Smith in technology, engineering, and construction, but I do the continuing education side. And adjuncts in continuing education can already start being part of the OER and developing their own OER for courses. I've actually have 5 or 6 faculty that are going to the trainings and are going to be doing this probably maybe spring semester, summer. But what you need to do is just whoever your coordinator is, or if you want to email me, I can find out your coordinator and then make sure you're getting emails, because we've had quite a few meetings that you can take part in. And continuing education has lots of OERs because we do a lot of cross-listed classes. So just in information technology alone, probably close to 250 continuing education students are taking all of these higher level courses and are actually not having to buy books either. So it really is across the board. It's helping all students, not just credit students.
Thank you, Barbara. Tina listed, I need to revisit OERs for past 1,000. How should I get started? Fatina, I would definitely start with your chair, and once you connect with your chair, if the steering committee or I can provide any resources for you, please let me know. Muhammad Ali wrote, what OER system can faculty use? Are there many options, LibreText, OpenText? Fantastic question. So we've standardized on LibreText, and one of the advantages of using LibreText for our OER course development is that for any platform that has open content, they have what they call harvesters. And as faculty, we can request that that open content be moved into LibreText, and it will automatically be brought in. So one of the major advantages of the LibreText platform is that for any material that's openly licensed, they will allow us to be able to bring that in, and it will be added to their library. Okay, excellent, Fatina. So if Chair and Dean are on board, I will send you a link to the application, and you can start today if you like. Excellent. Other questions?
Well, I don't so much have a question, but as a comment, based on what I've heard today and on my general impressions of things, I don't know if it's anywhere close to this being practical, and maybe it never will be, but I would like to see us reach a point where the default expectation for all course resources is that they are open, and that anytime somebody wants to use some that aren't, it's possible for that to go through, but they have to ask the questions, how much benefit does this give compared to the open resources? And is that benefit worth it compared to the increased cost barrier for our students? I don't know if there's probably going to be a bunch of classes where it will always keep being worth it to use the non-open ones. But I think I would like to see us reach a point where that's the standard we use. And I would hope we can reach a point where most things are open.
I think we're moving more in that direction. There are certain courses where it's going to be difficult to have open material. Examples given were literature classes, like modern literature classes, might be difficult. Some of our IT classes where the certifications change every couple years, it's really difficult to maintain that. But the other side of that is, as an institution, there's nothing stopping us from developing content ourselves in some cases, and there's nothing stopping us from, paying to have content created or accessed. So maybe for a modern literature class, the institution might strike a relationship where we pay a fee and it still becomes open to our students or free to our students. Hence we have the Z course as well. Look like we got a couple more questions. An emphasis on how faculty can modify OER content to meet their and their students' specific needs is critical to understanding the value of this technology. John Bartles, absolutely correct. One of the fantastic things about the LibreText platform is that not only do you have access to various amounts of open content, but they have a remixer tool where you can bring in entire books or entire chapters or entire segments, and you can reorder it, you can drag, you can drop it. And if you just reorder it and don't make any changes, you automatically get the publisher updates. But if you decide to make changes to it and customize it, you can actually change the text however you want. So one of my apprehensions about developing an OER was, you know, I feel like I'm able to teach and deliver the information, but I never thought I could develop a textbook, you know, and it was kind of daunting and intimidating. So, you know, there was always that hesitation, but with this remixer tool, I don't have to be a writer. I can take 5 or 6 different textbooks that have 5 or different interpretations of a chapter that I want to cover, drag and drop them in the order that I want, and even change the content without having to do it. So, John, we completely agree that remixer tool is really a game changer for faculty to be able to develop content.
Thank you, Michael, for saying that. I think that's really something that needs to be out in the forefront of all of our discussions, and that some faculty might be apprehensive because, like you say, it's a little daunting at first to go in and start doing that. But once you hit your stride, you can really make your course be the pinnacle of courses, and that, you know, I think that's something that really needs to be emphasized.
Thank you. We will
Thank you.
do that. Okay, next comment. The harvesting concept associated with LibreText is great. This is especially true since it seems I may resetting the COM 1010 OER plan in the works. Excellent. And we can talk more about that if you need support. What higher education institution are exemplars in this area, in your opinion? Besides affordability, what are the other tangible advantages they've noted? So I know that Montgomery College is really leading the way in this area. Laura, I'm not sure if you're aware of any others, or Priscilla, I think I saw you on. But while I'm answering the other part of the questions, if you guys are able to chime in, it would be helpful. But the other benefits really equity. We don't want students to not be able to be successful because of something related to equity, whether it's finances or resources. And this is a game changer because it makes students, you know, ready on day one. And having the students come in on day one with their textbook and not have to worry about, I'm going to make a copy, I'm going to go to wait for my financial aid to come in. You know, besides just the cost saving, knowing students can be successful on day one is really important. The other major advantage is, and John alluded to it, is improved pedagogy. You know, as faculty members, we know exactly how we want our courses to be set up. And a lot of times we combine 2 or 3 textbooks or resources from lots of material. But this, with the remixer tool, gives us the opportunity to customize the material the way that we want it, and with some of the test banks that exist out there for us to be able to do that as well. So outside of the affordability piece, the equity piece and the improved pedagogy are also important. And it looks like some people chimed in with UMGC, UMBC as well. And I don't know if Laura or Priscilla had anything.
Northern Virginia Community College is another community college that's doing a lot with OER.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Michael, a quick question on with the remixing. Is it allowed to mix like one from OpenText? Like, for example, I have a Python class, I use OER, and can I take content from OpenText and mix it with LibreText?
Yes, one of the major advantages is that if the information is openly licensed, and if it's not in LibreText, what the harvesters will do, you can fill out a form and they'll bring the content into LibreText for us. So we use the OLI for the INT 10 10, Mohammed, that you developed and worked with for us. And because that was on a different platform, we put in the request for their harvester, and they started bringing that content in on the LibreText platform for us. So you can absolutely do that, but the content has to be openly licensed.
Excellent. And just to follow it up, we missed for those of us that missed the training on last Friday. Is there one that's coming up in December?
Yeah, we're going to continue to do them. They're going to have a LibreFest in early November as well. So all of us will be able to attend, and we're going to continue to do internal trainings to support faculty as well. So there will be more opportunities.
Thank
you. Yes, the PowerPoint will be available after this session.
Thank you.
No problem. Are there other questions?
Michael, I have a question. This is Tiffany. My question is, because I heard about the training you did on Friday. I'm sorry I missed it, but I heard that you had a really good stats person come. Do you have the information for that person?
Yep. So LibreText actually has office hours that are available as well, and I use them all the time. So they're very supportive. So we can put you in contact with the math person that was there, but we can also make the links available for their office hours. And if there's something that you need and you want to work through with us first before taking it to LibreText, we can support as well. So whichever way would be best for you, we're happy to get you what you need.
Well, you know, I'm just kind of looking for my pathway, and stats is normally always the hardest one to look for. And I just heard that there was a book or something that they shown that was thought to be pretty good. And I was just curious even how to access it, like where it was. I didn't even understand what the name is that you're saying. I still don't really know what you're saying. So that's why I was just coming on here to ask.
Well, I think in that case, the next time we have an introduction workshop, or if you want to go to the LibreFest, it will show you how to log in, can show you how to access the libraries. You can access all of the textbooks, look at some of the homework managers. So I think the next steps for you would be to either when we do one of our internal sessions to join in, or the LibreFest that they're having in early November, you'll be able to see as well, either way.
Okay, well, then November's next week, so I'm guessing it's coming up soon then.
Yep. I will send out information to all of the faculty about the workshop.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, how will we get, well, the question is basically about getting credit for the workshop today. And I think the credit that we have for today is really just, you know, more of a general information workshop. So this one wasn't specific about a particular training. So I'm not sure if there's any type of, I guess in the future, we could probably, Laura, create digital badges associated with all the workshops. So there could be some form of acknowledgement for everything. So that's fine. Have we surveyed students who enrolled or completed Z course to ask about their experience? I'm going to turn that over to Laura. Mm-hmm. And I think you're on mute, Laura. Mm-hmm. Laura, you might still be on mute. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Dr. Williams, no, we have not done that yet, but that is one of the next steps in the evaluation plan, is to survey both students and faculty as well.
Do we have any other questions? You guys, if there's no other questions, Laura and I really appreciate your participation and your thoughtful questions. And Andrew, the comment that you made about, you know, us starting from a point of view of looking at open resources and working from there, I think, you know, as a faculty, I think we really need to begin to, you know, think about that, realizing that, you know, not every course right now can be developed in a Z or OER format, but as a default way of looking at this, I think that we have a responsibility, to your point, for us to think about what's in the best interest of our students and to hopefully in the very near future start operating from that perspective. So we really appreciate that comment.
We may not ever get all the way there, but as long as we keep it in mind and aim for it, I think it's a worthwhile endeavor.
Does Dr. Williams know what area that you're in the perspective that you're coming from? Can you let her know what area of the college you work in?
I'm in part of enterprise technology. I have no direct involvement with the actual education side of this. I just have a strong philosophical interest in open resources.
Excellent. Thank you again. You guys, thank you very much. I think that's pretty much the workshop for today. Laura, did you have any closing remarks?
No, I wanted to thank everyone, and of course, we would love to keep you updated as we get new data from the evaluation plan.
Thank you guys again.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.